I'm Remi Warren. I've spent my entire life chasing elk. What I'm going to show you is how to scout for elk through the onX web app. So I'm going to talk to you about where to start e-scouting for archery elk. If I think about Western hunting, Western big game hunting, one of my favorite things every September is to get out into the elk mountains and chase rutting bulls. The reason elk hunting is so fun is because it's an extremely vocal animal. You can call elk, you can hunt elk a lot of different ways. My particular way that I enjoy hunting elk is hunting them during the rut with a bow in hand, calling and kind of battling and challenging that herd bull to come into my setup. Now, in order to do that successfully, a lot of that comes down to picking the right spot. And I do that from home before the season starts, before I ever get out into the field, finding where I want to go and where I want to hunt. So what I'm going to do today is just break down the things that I do at home and the initial way that I find where to go and where I'm going to start my elk hunt. So let's jump into the maps right now and I can show you exactly what I'm thinking. So in my initial assessment, what I'm doing is I'm starting to narrow from big to small. So I'm taking a broad look at the units and I find, okay, here's the unit that I can hunt. So now I've got my boundary outlined. Within that, I'm going to now find places where I can access country to hunt. So I'm looking in the mountains and I'm looking for public lands. It'll either be BLM in this particular area, it looks like, or Forest Service. Seems most of the mountains are in Forest Service. So I'm looking for those access points. And what I'm also going to do is in the back of my mind, key in on some of those habitat features that I see in these places where I've got access. So I'm going to be looking for the food, water, and cover. When we break down food, water, and cover, well, what's that actually mean? Elk are primarily grazers, whereas deer are browsers. The grazers are looking for more of that grass. So I'm looking for potentially open food areas that have maybe a south-facing slope that'll be a little bit drier, but probably more open and have more habitat for elk. Around that, I'm also going to be looking for areas of thick cover. So that's going to be some form of timber, some form of closed-in brush. It could be like oak brush, it could be mahogany, juniper forest, some form of thick cover. Large animals, they're going to need a considerable amount of water. They're generally in good-sized herds, and also we got to think this is an archery hunt. They're going to be doing behaviors like wallowing. So I can see here, this particular axis has some good south-facing slopes. It has a lot of cover, and then within that cover, it also has many springs and a creek running through. So there's plenty of water, there's food, and there's cover. So this is going to be an area that I'm going to look back at. I'm going to continue to look through the unit and find areas that are very similar to what I'm looking for, that have all those distinguishing factors. I'm also going to note particular trails going in and also pay attention to areas that don't have trails. Those might be areas that I can maybe get away from people, but still have all that elk habitat that I can go in and look for elk at. Now that you have the basics on where to start and get started, you can do the exact same thing on your onX Hunt app. Just pull it out and start looking for those things that we talked about: elk habitat, access, and a place to go. Once you've narrowed that down, you're well on your way to finding elk this season.